Hello, my loves. My name is Leanne Rose, and today what I'm going to be taking you through is a short channeled transmission. But before we dive into that, I actually want to give you a bit of a background on who I am so that it kind of prepares your system for what we are diving into. Because this is not your conventional, what I call 5D channeling, that is sitting in a space that says, I am connecting with beings that are outside of myself. We are working with a very, very specific level of consciousness as we dive into this. My apologies, hoarse throat there. So, my background is in interpersonal psychotherapy and mental health nursing. And so I have a very professional, evidence-based arena that I have kind of moved out of in the past few years. And where my system actually took me was into a very interesting turn of events that centers around this beautiful gift to be able to trans-channel source. And so now, fast forward to today, now that I am no longer working clinically as a mental health nurse or as a psychotherapist, I still weave those skills in to, what we are doing in the realm of consciousness exploration. Fast forward to today, I now have my own company and I'm working with people all over the world, from Hollywood actors, self-made multimillionaires, best-selling authors, industry leaders, you name it, I have worked with them, and it's been absolutely incredible. And I would not have been able to do any of those things if it wasn't for this beautiful gift. And I know for some people, this might feel a little bit strange. So that's why I love to preface this with the truth that I am not somebody that is mentally unhinged. I actually do have a real strong foundational, grounded connection to psychology, mental health expertise. And yet, this can seem a little bit strange for those that are not used to this kind of work. And for those that are used to this kind of work, some of the questions that I often get are, who is it that you're channeling? What kind of beings are you channeling? And the truth is, I'm not channeling beings. And in order to answer that question fully, what I really have to preface this with is the larger piece that I'm actually here to remind you of. This is something that you already intuitively know deep down, and I am simply one of the many beautiful souls on earth that are here to remind you of this ultimate truth. And that ultimate truth is that we are all one. Some people call it the universe, some people call it energy, some people call it God. I love to think about this as that we all stem from the one source of consciousness. And so what my work ultimately really is about, and what my work in the world has been in terms of my own kind of personal development and my own skill set generation, has been around dissolving the idea that this solid matter around us is the primary substance in the universe. This idea that matter is the primary substance, the primary building blocks of reality, and that consciousness essentially is something that is generated in the brain, and it's essentially just lights and clockwork. What I believe, and what I have explored through lots of experimental research and lots of anecdotal evidence, both my own and people all across the world from all walks of life, is a much more expanded viewpoint. And I fundamentally believe that this is what our species is going to move more towards over the next millennia. And that is the idea that consciousness actually is the primary substance in the universe. That our third dimensional reality actually is a very intricately and beautifully put together hologram, an extension of consciousness focusing itself in all of these powerfully intricate ways. And we experience that in a very sensory way as matter, as our third dimensional reality. And so at the heart of everything that I do is really about connecting us to that ultimate source of consciousness, the ultimate source of reality, the ultimate source of all that we actually are. And we call that superconsciousness. So in order to answer the question, who am I channeling? The best way that my channel has described this is if you think about us as the one source, us in our primary, raw essence as that one source of consciousness. Think of that as the ultimate living organism of ourself, as source, as God, as the universe, as consciousness, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it source for now in today's video. Think about that version of us as the one living organism in existence. And every single aspect of reality, every single one of us, every single living being, every single creature, every single piece of reality that you see is an aspect of that one living organism. A cell, if you like, of that one living organism. And so when I open up my channel, and this happens for everybody, by the way, whenever we enter that flow state, whenever we enter that channeled state, whenever we enter that zone where we know something bigger than just my human perspective is moving through me, what we are actually doing is extending our connection beyond this one individual cell that we believe ourselves to be. And we are reaching out into the furthest realms of ourself as consciousness. And we are allowing more and more and more of those cells, the information, the knowledge, the wisdom, the experience, the set points, the perceptions. We're allowing all of that to flow through. We're becoming connected to our more infinite self as consciousness. So that is what I am channeling. But when I first started to channel, I didn't know all those things. I was still very much in what we call the 5D set point, which is where I believed that we are separate from source. I believed that I was trying to get back to source. And so what moved through me, as source moved through me, if it shared with me, if I shared with me, hey, we are source, I wouldn't have believed them. And so the frequencies of myself as source, of our self as source, because we are all source, and this is what the Galayla Collective have shared with me right from the beginning. At first, they called themselves the Galayla Collective, and they shared with me that they were an interdimensional collective consciousness, that were of no origin. They were of the same oneness that I was a part of, that you are a part of, that we are a part of. And they were here to remind us that we are all one. And they would give me tiny little clues. As my development evolved, as my wisdom evolved, as my connection to the embodiment that we are truly all one, to superconsciousness evolved, they gave me more and more snippets of information. They would say things to me like, when people asked, how many of you are there? You know, because people were still very much asking me questions as if these were beings that I was connected with, which technically at some level they are, in the same way that you and I are seemingly separate beings. But we are not. We are one source. They would say things to me like, as your wisdom grows in number, so do we. And further down the line, when I was able to more fully understand the concept of oneness, fully, not just up here, but in here, it really landed. They showed me this beautiful visual of these infinite cells of our self as source. And that every single time I was able to embody more and more truth that I am source energy, that we are source energy, I was able to access more and more of my infinite self as source, I could pull more of that wisdom in and through. And so ultimately, at the heart of this work is not just about remembering that we are the one consciousness, the one source. The ultimate piece that we really want to wake you up to today's activation, is that you are not just here to remember. You are not just here to seek. You are not just here to serve. And I know there are so many of you that have been brought to this work to build out what it is that you want to build out into the world from this place of service. And all of those pieces are profoundly powerful and profoundly juicy. But what I've found is that many people that move into this level of awareness, this level of consciousness that have come from a 5D setting are missing a complete piece, which is the embodiment of raw God power. You are not just here to serve, you are here to play. And so one of the most powerful pieces that they have delivered through their teachings, through the structures, through the metaphors, through the powerful frameworks that they have delivered in the entirety of their time with me, all time with us. The entire time my trans channel has been fully online has been this real reconnection to the truth that we command reality. And that reality is not a passive extension of who you are. It's not a passive reflection of who we are and the identities that we are choosing moment to moment, because it is a choice who you are deciding to be moment to moment. It is actually about commanding the field of our infinite self, reconnecting to the truth that we are not passively engaging with reality. We are actively commanding it moment to moment from our true source of consciousness. And so what our job is to reconnect you to that true source of consciousness, because it is that version of you that is actually creating and generating your reality. And we have so much more creative, directive control over reality than we think we do. But in order to actually unlock that state of direction, that state of creative ability to actually command reality, first we have to actually awaken our identity as the ultimate source. And souls, the things I have seen be created as a result of this, not only crazy juicy transformations in my personal relationship that feel honestly miraculous in nature, I have seen physical shifts in systems like organic terminations. I have seen crazy collapses in time around income. One of our clients went from 150K months to $1 million months on repeat in less than half a year, utilizing just these concepts. I've seen marriages completely transformed from the brink of divorce to the most happiest, intimate, beautiful partnerships. I've seen people reversing signs of aging. I've seen people change the law. It has been absolutely batshit crazy, excuse the French. Because we are operating, when we are moving from this consciousness first perspective, which is what the Galayla Collective have called this. And we have a podcast devoted to this called Consciousness First that you can go and listen to if you are wanting more of this juiciness. When we move from this new level of awareness, most of us understand internal reality creates external world. And when you start to move from this limitless identity, limitless possibilities then come online, because that's the set point that we're operating from. And it truly is real life magic. And it has blown my brain, and it continues to blow my brain. And I feel like we are just getting started. And yet this evolution into super consciousness, into this consciousness first approach, has actually been ongoing for a long time, but it's actually catapulted over the last 5 years. And the COVID pandemic actually was a huge initiator for this. And if you want to know more about that, the Galayla Collective talk about that in the first episode of our Consciousness First Perspective podcast. So without further ado, I am going to start our transchanneling experience today. I have no idea what they are actually going to be connecting you to fully. I'm very much giving them the reins. But what I want you to understand before we move into this today is that this is not just an exchange of information. This is a transmission. Now, I know I'm speaking to energetically mature human beings here, and I know that you understand these pieces. I know that you are well attuned to how energy speaks. And some of you might not be conscious of that fact, but you are here for a reason. There's a reason that you are in our beautiful Sabrina Greer's space, and there is a beautiful reason why you're feeling drawn to authorship. And there is a beautiful reason why you are sat here listening to me. And that is because your own energetic system is asking for you to be more receptive and allow you to actually radiate more of who you truly are out into the world. And so what I want you to understand about this beautiful exchange is that this is not just head-to-head stuff. This is channel to channel, soul to soul, energy to energy. You are going to feel this transmission in your system, so let it fill you up. All right, my loves, I will see you on the other side. Hey! Hello, dear souls. So, the peace we wish to activate within your eternal infinite essence today is the frequency of the beacon. As the gal so beautifully put, the heart of our work is about reminding you of who you really are as the source of reality itself. You are energy itself. You are consciousness itself. You are the infinite. You are the all that is. That is your true identity, dear ones. This human piece that you are playing in right now is a part of the avatar, the game that you are playing in your third dimensional reality, which is essentially your playground as source energy, to explore and enjoy itself from infinite angles, to paint wonderful, magnificent masterpieces in 3D. When you are the source of all things, third dimensional reality is your canvas, and experience is your medium, your paint, your oils, your pastels. And the infinite fractalization of self from infinite angles to experience infinite scenarios and connect with self in infinite ways. Third dimensional reality is your living, breathing masterpiece as source energy. But today we want you to play in a hyper-specific piece. For many of you, this idea of this much more infinite game that you are playing with yourself as source is less tangibly reachable. What is reachable is your individual human soul purpose. Why am I here? I feel a pull to do something bold and big in the world. This is yourself as source waking up inside of you. that call to be more, to have more, to do more, to be seen, to be heard, to be celebrated. It is your God self, your superconsciousness, yourself as source waking up inside your human cells. Today, we want you to understand that what you seek, what you crave, that aspect of you that knows you are designed to be visible to the world. You are designed to pour goodness out into the world. That desire, whether it is to become an author, to become a speaker, whether it is to become a well-recognized therapeutic practitioner, a well-recognized leader in your field. Essentially, dear ones, at its essence is the desire to experience the frequency of the radiant beacon. Breathe this in with us, dear ones. Allow the breath to fill your heart and to connect with the frequency that we are, radiating to you and from you, for indeed we are all one. There is no separation. As we, as source, reconnect with the desire to experience the frequency of the beacon, we want you to become aware of what is actually happening in your system. The human metaphor is that I wish to write a book, or I wish to be seen by millions, or I wish to be hired by people of influence, or I wish to be starred on podcasts that spread far and wide across the world. And these are all beautiful desires that, of course, you are destined to meet. But what is essential for each of you to understand is that most of you have been attempting to create this scenario through a matters first approach to life. This idea that matter, that third dimensional reality, is the primary reality. And the truth is, dear ones, that whenever we attempt to change life at the 3D level, we are infinitely less able to transform our experience. Why? Because when we are operating from the level of consciousness that believes matter is the fundamental substance in the universe, i.e. third dimensional reality is the dominant reality, we are only operating at a 0.00001% of our power as the very source of reality itself. So what must shift? What must change? The connection to the truth that your third dimensional reality essentially is illusion. That your third dimensional goals are simply imprints, tiny flavors, inspirations of your true desire. Your true desire is to experience a feeling state in the infinite now moment. And a feeling state actually equates to connecting to a part of your infinite essence as energy itself, as experience itself. And so let us connect you to the part of you that actually craves this visibility. The divine desire underneath this human desire is to experience the frequency of the beacon. The beacon is the aspect of self that is so radiant in its own light, so unapologetically expanded in its own individual, distinctive set point. So expanded in its celebration of its individuality that its light shines so brightly it allows itself to share its essence with those that have lost their way. This version of you is so overflowing with the knowledge of all that it is as light itself, and a very distinctive flavor of light, that it blasts through any density that could ever hope to contain it. And it becomes a beacon for others to find their own light. We want you to feel this now coming alive in your own body, every single cell inside of you. The vibrations moving with every breath. The cells alive with every breath. Moving faster and faster and faster and faster, their light spreading brighter and brighter, bigger and bigger, until it explodes through your entire body. And you feel it emitting brighter and brighter, moving beyond the walls of the building that you are in, engulfing the building that you are in and shining ever brighter beyond it. And everything it touches, dear ones, as your light expands beyond that which feels like your human self, but you know that your infinite essence is spreading beyond the illusion that you have ever been separate from the all that is. You are both one with your human and infinitely connected to the truth that the human element of you is such a tiny piece of you. And as your awareness of this moves out into the world around you, into the cosmos, you feel the frequency of this light, this beacon energy, absorbing even more light, becoming bigger, stronger, more powerful as it truly experiences more and more of its infinite self. And with everybody it touches, it awakens the spark within them that remembers that they are one and the same, that they are light itself, that they are consciousness itself. But there is a highly specific way, dear ones, that you are actually bringing this flavor of empowerment online for them. And in the same way, as you are reaching the breadths of your beacon energy throughout the globe, you also feel those powerful beacons around you that are also doing the same to support you, to support your light. This is what you are absorbing as you grow ever more, as you expand truly into infinite expressions and understandings of what it means to be a beacon. You are overflowing with the abundance of all that you are. You are receptive to the other beacons around you that are here to do the same. And you work in tandem to wake each other up. Why? So that you can actually begin to play in this wonderful third-dimensional hologrammatic playground that you have created for yourselves as the infinite. Feel the joy of this coming online in the body now, dear ones. Every creative venture you have ever put out into the world, regardless of whether you have finished it or not, regardless of whether it went the way you wanted it to or not. You are contributing to the field of the all that is. Nothing has ever been wasted. Sometimes you are inspired by other beacons, and sometimes you are the beacon that inspires other beacons. Both roles are equally as vital and equally as nourishing to your individual system. And anytime you feel as if you are not getting the visibility you feel you are destined for, remember the truth. The only reason you are experiencing this reality is because you have become disconnected from the energetic truth that you already are the beacon that you are desiring to be, and it is simply a case of reconnecting to it from within. And by law, the external reality must shift to meet you, for internal reality creates external world. And when you reconnect to the ultimate truth that you already are the beacon you desire to be, it must become so in your third dimensional experience. Closing this here for today. Sending you oodles of love. Goodbye for now. Oh, there you go, my loves. The beacon. So for those of you that did start to feel some of the energetic activations that are moving through the system, this is a beautiful architectural energetic structure that your system is waking you up to. So you might feel it in the belly, maybe you feel it in the chest, maybe you have that sensation in the mind of your light spreading out. These are all your 4 energy bodies, your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual body, coming online to show you more of your infinite architectural structure. And it's connecting to these energetic structures that actually allow us to build out our third dimensional realities with laser focused precision. And that's exactly what we teach inside our Power Portal membership, through our 4-phase manifestation process, through our super conscious manifestation frameworks and teachings and practices. So if that is something that you are wanting to learn more about, send me a little message and I can hook you up. All right, my loves. Sending you oodles and oodles of love. And if you are interested in learning more about what we do, there's lots and lots of ways to do that. Obviously, we have a beautiful book coming out soon, which I'm so incredibly excited for. That tells you a little bit more about my journey with this stuff, and how you can start to implement some of these practices for yourself, whether it's to do with the channeling elements of things, or whether it's to do with reality creation, which is the advanced form of manifestation that we're now moving into. And by the way, little side note, if you have been feeling like manifestation has stopped working for you, that's one of the fundamental pieces that gives you a clue that you're starting to move into super consciousness. Because when you're ready for this new level of awareness, the old pieces start to fall away. So just a little side note there. We have our beautiful podcast that you can come and listen to us in as well. That's a beautiful way to kind of get familiar with my channel and some of the frequencies that they emit. You can find us over on Instagram. We've got a website. But the juiciest, the best way to dive into every single piece that we have ever done, and that we will continue to do, because this is our role here, is to remind you of who you are at the most infinite level, and continue to play in that in a really highly structured way that actually gives you those tangible frameworks that allow you to command reality at this level, is through our Power Portal Codex. So if you want more information on that, just send me a message. Sending you oodles of love, and I will see you all when I see you. Bye.